The group of teenagers burst into laughter as the man struggles up the courthouse steps. "Look at that old cripple, trying to act normal," one of them shouts while mimicking his uneven gait. 57-year-old Staff Sergeant Marcus Thompson grips the handrail tighter as more young people join in mocking his war-damaged leg, their cruel imitations echoing across the plaza where he's trying to attend his son's naturalization ceremony. What they don't see is the small purple ribbon pinned inside his jacket. A Purple Heart earned when an IED blast in Fallujah shattered his femur and killed 3 of his closest friends. What this wounded warrior does next will silence every mocker and teach them the true cost of freedom. If stories of hidden sacrifice and earned respect touch your soul, smash that subscribe button and tell us in the comments about someone who showed strength through adversity. This veteran's truth will leave you speechless. Marcus had been looking forward to this day for 3 years. Ever since his adopted son, Carlos, began the long process of becoming an American citizen. Carlos had come to the United States as a refugee from El Salvador at age 12, and Marcus and his late wife had welcomed him into their family after serving as his foster parents. Today marked the culmination of Carlos's dream to officially become an American. The courthouse steps presented a daily challenge for Marcus, whose right leg had never healed properly after multiple surgeries to repair the damage from an improvised explosive device in Iraq. Each step required careful balance and concentration, his reconstructed femur aching with every movement, despite the titanium rod that now served as his primary bone structure. A group of high school students on a field trip noticed Marcus's labored climb up the courthouse steps and found his disability amusing rather than deserving of respect or compassion. They had been waiting outside for their government class tour and were looking for entertainment to pass the time before their scheduled appointment. The ringleader, a 17-year-old named Brett, who played varsity football and considered himself popular among his peers, pointed at Marcus and began exaggerating a limping walk for the amusement of his classmates. His cruel imitation drew immediate laughter and encouraged others to join in the mockery of the struggling older man. Brett's girlfriend Sarah pulled out her phone to record the performance, thinking it would make funny content for her social media accounts. She encouraged Brett to make his imitation even more dramatic, suggesting that the old man probably deserved whatever happened to him to cause such obvious physical problems. More students joined the cruel display, taking turns mimicking Marcus's uneven gait while their classmates cheered and recorded videos. They created a game of who could perform the most exaggerated version of his disability, competing for likes and shares on their various social media platforms. A teacher chaperoning the field trip noticed the commotion but failed to intervene, apparently either not understanding what was happening or choosing to ignore the students' behavior rather than confront them about their cruelty toward a disabled stranger. Trying to navigate the courthouse entrance, Marcus continued his slow progress up the steps, trying to ignore the laughter and cruel comments echoing around him. He focused on reaching the entrance where Carlos would be waiting, knowing that missing this ceremony wasn't an option despite the pain in his leg and the humiliation of being publicly mocked by strangers. Brett decided to escalate his performance by approaching Marcus directly, walking alongside him while exaggerating his own limp and asking loudly why some people can't just stay home, instead of making everyone else uncomfortable with their obvious physical problems and inability to function. Normally in public. Sarah recorded Brett's aggressive confrontation with Marcus, narrating for her video audience about encountering a pathetic old man who probably hurt himself through his own stupidity and now expects everyone else to accommodate his limitations, instead of taking responsibility for his condition. Other students gathered closer to watch Brett's continued harassment of Marcus, some laughing at his cruel commentary while others began to look uncomfortable with how far the situation was escalating. A few students pulled out their own phones to record what they were starting to recognize as bullying rather than harmless fun. Marcus stopped on the courthouse steps and turned to face the group of students who had been tormenting him. For a moment, the laughter died down as they realized the older man was going to respond to their cruel behavior, instead of simply enduring it in silence, like they expected. Brett smirked and challenged Marcus to explain what was wrong with his leg, suggesting that anyone with such obvious physical problems should probably avoid public places where normal people have to witness their struggles. He told Marcus that his limping was making everyone uncomfortable and ruining their field trip experience. Marcus looked around at all the young faces staring at him with amusement and cruelty, and for a moment, the courthouse steps faded away. He was back on the dusty road outside Fallujah on June 18, 2005, hearing the explosion that changed his life forever and feeling the searing pain as shrapnel tore through his right leg. His voice was quiet but steady when he told the students about that day in Iraq, how his convoy was delivering supplies to a forward operating base when insurgents triggered a massive roadside bomb that flipped their armored vehicle and trapped his squad inside the burning wreckage, while enemy fighters opened fire from concealed positions. The students began to quiet as Marcus described pulling Sergeant Rodriguez from the overturned Humvee despite his own shattered leg, dragging him 50 yards to safety while bullets struck the ground around them. How he went back for Corporal Williams, who was unconscious and bleeding from multiple wounds, carrying him away from the vehicle just before it exploded. Brett's confident smirk faded as Marcus continued his story, explaining how he made a third trip into the kill zone to reach Private Johnson, the youngest member of their squad, at 19 years old. How the second eye exploded just as Marcus was pulling Johnson clear, sending more shrapnel through his already damaged leg and killing Johnson instantly. Sarah stopped recording her video as she realized she was capturing something very different from the entertainment she had planned. The other students put away their phones and listened in growing shame as Marcus described the loss of 3 soldiers who never made it home to see their families again. Marcus rolled up his right pant leg to show the students the extensive scarring and metal hardware that kept his reconstructed leg functional. He explained that the titanium rod running through his femur was installed during his 7th surgery, and that walking remained painful even 12 years after the injury that earned him a Purple Heart. The courthouse plaza fell completely silent as Marcus reached into his jacket and pulled out a small velvet box containing the Purple Heart medal he had received for wounds sustained in combat. He opened the box and showed the students the heart-shaped medal that represents sacrifice and service to country above personal safety. Brett stared at the Purple Heart with wide eyes, finally understanding that he had been mocking a wounded warrior rather than someone who deserved ridicule for his physical limitations. His girlfriend Sarah covered her mouth with her hand, tears forming as she realized the cruelty of their behavior toward a genuine American hero. Marcus explained to the stunned students that he wasn't seeking their pity or special treatment, but that understanding and respect should be automatic when encountering people whose disabilities resulted from serving their country in combat. He told them that Rodriguez, Williams, and Johnson died protecting the freedom that allows them to attend school and pursue their dreams. The teacher finally approached the group and apologized profusely to Marcus for her students' behavior, promising that there would be serious consequences for their cruel treatment of a wounded veteran. Several students began crying as they understood the magnitude of their mistake in mocking someone who had sacrificed so much for their country. Brett approached Marcus with tears in his eyes and offered a sincere apology for his ignorant and cruel behavior. Marcus accepted the apology gracefully and explained that the students' reaction showed they had good hearts beneath their thoughtless actions, and that learning from mistakes is what makes people grow and become better citizens. Marcus invited the students to attend Carlos's naturalization ceremony if their schedule allowed, explaining that his adopted son was about to become an American citizen and that witnessing such ceremonies helps people understand the value of the freedoms that military service protects and preserves. Several students asked Marcus about his military service and the friends he lost in Iraq, listening respectfully as he described Rodriguez's dream of becoming a police officer, Williams's plan to marry his high school sweetheart, and Johnson's goal of becoming a teacher after completing his military service. As Marcus continued up the courthouse steps, now accompanied by several students who insisted on helping him reach the entrance, he explained that his limp serves as a daily reminder of the price of freedom and the sacrifice of better men than himself who never came home. The naturalization ceremony became more meaningful for the students who witnessed it, as they watched Carlos take his oath of citizenship while understanding the sacrifices that made such opportunities possible. Marcus sat in the front row with tears of pride, knowing that Rodriguez, Williams, and Johnson would have been honored to see another person achieve the American dream. After the ceremony, several students approached Carlos to congratulate him and thank Marcus again for his service and sacrifice. They promised to share what they had learned about respect, sacrifice, and the true cost of freedom with their classmates and families. Brett organized a school-wide assembly to educate students about Purple Heart recipients and the importance of treating wounded veterans with respect and understanding. He invited Marcus to speak about his experiences and help other young people understand that disabilities often represent service and sacrifice rather than weakness or failure. Marcus began volunteering at the high school, sharing his story with students and helping them understand the connections between military service, personal sacrifice, and the freedoms they enjoy as Americans. His talks focus on respect, understanding, and the importance of looking beyond appearances to understand people's true stories. Sarah deleted her cool video and instead created content promoting veteran awareness and respect for wounded warriors. She used her social media influence to educate her peers about Purple Heart recipients and the importance of treating all people with dignity, regardless of their physical abilities. 6 months later, the same group of students organized a fundraiser for wounded veteran services, raising thousands of dollars for programs that help Purple Heart recipients access medical care and support services. They credit Marcus with teaching them that true strength often walks with a limp and carries invisible scars. What this wounded warrior does next will silence every mocker and teach them the true cost of freedom. If stories of hidden sacrifice and earned respect touch your soul, smash that subscribe button and tell us in the comments about someone who showed strength through adversity. This veteran's truth will leave you speechless.